everyone, my name is Sezin Tümer. I'm a retail innovation professional. I'm a close follower of trends and technology in the retail space with a focus on omni-channel customer experience. Retail industry is going through very difficult times due to COVID-19 pandemic.
So the purpose of these talks is to stimulate some conversation within the retail industry, talking to retail executives and also retail technology providers who offer solutions to this industry. Technology will be even more important moving onwards to merge the customer experience online with physical. And today we're going to be talking about a very interesting technology that brings a very true omni-channel customer experience. Let my guest explain what it is, and I'd like to welcome Jeremy Dodd from Go Instore. Hi Jeremy, welcome. How are you?
Hi Sezin, very well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining. So Jeremy, retail industry is going through very difficult times since the pandemic. The stores have been closed in the UK for the last 2 months. Consumers were already shifting to e-commerce even before the pandemic started. So we were all talking about, omni-channel experience, etc. And one thing that we were, I think, all agreeing was nothing can replace the human touch that exists within the physical space. And now the physical stores are basically gone, at least temporarily. There's nothing that replaces that, or is there? So I think it's a good way to really tie into your product. So tell me what Go Instore solution does and how does it help improve the customer experience online?
Brilliant. Okay, in a nutshell, what Go Instore does is it takes an online customer and we connect that online customer on a retailer's website to somebody in store through live video. So what does that mean? That means all of a sudden customers shopping online can have the luxury of a sort of retail experience, an assisted sales piece just during their shopping. So, we're taking a sort of traditional shopping experience online, traditional as we call it now, images and stats and specs and everything into a click and a launch video call straight through the website with an expert based in store or based at home at the moment, as we have.
Okay, so how does it work? So let's say I'm a customer and I'm browsing a retail website, e-commerce site. And as I browse, I feel like I need to speak to an advisor. And at that point, do I just say help, or how do you approach the customer? How does the flow happen?
Absolutely. So one of the challenges here is that while we've had sort of mass adoption of e-commerce in a very short space of time, I think McKinsey quoted a 25% increase in a 2-week period back in March. Most of that driven by groceries and products that we're all very, very comfortable purchasing online. So, even a pack of batteries, for example. I don't need any help on a pack of batteries. I just know that I need an AA set. But with many purchases, the more considered purchases, consumers are traditionally sort of going into a store and having that advice, seeing it, touching and feeling it, and really having somebody that will help them through an assisted sales piece to make a decision. So what we're talking about here is a customer shopping online for more considered purchases. So expensive, complex or emotional, things like jewelry, consumer electronics. Now, I'm a consumer, I'm shopping online. Maybe I don't typically come online for these sort of purchases. Maybe I visit the store as part of that journey. So what we're doing is we're trying to tap into those consumers and when they might need help. With many categories of products, we see a huge sort of choice paralysis, certainly in consumer electronics, which is there are so many different SKUs which appear to be the same to me. And while I might have the trust through someone like Currys, I might have the trust for all these big brands. I simply don't know which product to buy. So the way our technology works is it appears at this point in the consumer journey. It will appear on sort of category search and product pages in a sort of widget form. So it will sit in the bottom right or left of a product page, and it will show that there's a video service available where you can speak to an expert in store. So very simply, without the need for plugins, downloads, apps, anything like that, across all browsers and devices, the retailer's customer can press a button when a qualified expert's available, so somebody that knows their stuff about these particular products, and we will launch that call. On average, this is under 10 seconds that the customer's waiting to speak to somebody in store. And we're going to find that best placed expert based on their sort of knowledge set, maybe their location, maybe their availability of products in their own store. So we're ensuring a match is made automatically and invisibly, facilitating a video call straight through the retailer's website in sort of full HD. And
yeah. So the customer is having basically a video call with a store advisor, whether that store advisor is actually in the store, or in the case of pandemic, the store advisor might be even at his or her home as well, right?
Yeah, so kind of going back to when we launched the companies, was very much about people in the physical retail space. You might see as having a hybrid role. So they serve customers in store, but they're also able to log into their Go Instore app and serve customers online. Now, the original hypothesis maybe was also about redundant capacity in retail. But actually, as we've gone on, we've seen this is a hugely valuable experience, and it drives sales and it drives sort of customer satisfaction in a very big way. We've seen the creation of what we call a dark store. I think we're going to come to that later. So, purely online store. And now in this time where we've seen stores that are physically closed, we have retailers that have their, and big retailers, by the way, big sort of, retailers who protect their brand equity and brands as well. So they're actually having their staff based at home with a background much like yours or mine, and click through and have that video call with somebody in their own home for now. And of course, they will be moving back into the retail space. But for now, it's a very human experience. You might meet some cats. You'll be in somebody's spare room, and they'll be very open about that. And I think everyone right now is really understanding.
Yeah, perhaps it also brings that, human to human connection to the digital world, even during the pandemic times. So the other question, Jeremy, I have is, and now you're having a video call, and that's through the customer's, I guess, device, whether it's a laptop or phone. How is this different from just having a Zoom call like we are having one now? Or because I hear retailers just like using those tools to come up with a quick solution. How is your solution different from that?
Yeah, great question. So we're having a Zoom call, but we're having a Zoom call because we exchanged some emails, shared a link, we've got Zoom on our laptops. We're all set up to do this, and we launched a Zoom call. So, to counter that, we're straight on the website. There's no need for contact details to be shared, no need for downloads or apps or plugins. The other thing is, we're having a Zoom call now, but this isn't necessarily tracked. And everything that happens following our call now maybe falls into the abyss. When we're doing this on a retailer's website, we are tracking the sales. We're linking the sales to the individuals that help those consumers. We're pushing for feedback. We're pulling in a whole load of other tools like adding to basket. It's a fully integrated on-brand experience, and also the video quality is miles better than you'd see through something like this.
Okay, so does that mean that the store advisor can actually co-browse with the customer? For example, if the store advisor wants to recommend a product, let's say, can he direct the customer towards that? Can he or she, point out some products? You mentioned that adding into basket. So it's like a co-browsing and even maybe transacting while you're actually speaking to the store advisor as if you're in the store environment.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things you can do. So, we're talking in many cases about a consumer that's got too much choice. So what might come through on a particular HP laptop, for example, I will then speak to somebody that has the knowledge and the experience of dealing with customers in a store every day. They will point me to the best product for me based on my needs. It might be the same product, it might be a variation. So this really created the need for us to be able to interact with that customer's kind of web session to help point that out. short of just simply stating a SKU or anything like that. So what we can do is we can have that in-store expert sort of building a basket for that online customer that they can then push, and not control, but push and offer. And of course, there's sort of, you could make that a wish list or a basket ad as well. So it's a really great way. Many companies out there, many brands, they have a primary product, like something like a laptop, but they might also, somebody else might sell coffee machines, for instance, but they're always looking for cross-sell opportunities. How can we get consumables in this or software in this? So it's about empowering that store expert to add things to the basket and make recommendations. The customer, both with a sort of a better view of what they need to make this a complete purchase, and then on the retailer side, making sure that you're driving the average order values and the sort of basket size that you may be struggling to do online, but you can do in store where you've got that assisted sales piece.
Well, obviously this solution sounds like a great alternative to in-store experience for those who are browsing online, but who still wants to get that human advice element of the retail experience that you cannot normally get online. So were any retailers approaching you since the pandemic, finding out that this could be something they can deploy immediately as a response to the pandemic crisis?
Yeah, it was really, really interesting as a business to see how retailers around the world were responding to it as it sort of crept up on us in February and March. So we noticed that the sort of immediate reaction was some companies went, right, foot on the gas, let's accelerate what we're talking about now, let's do it in a bigger way, maybe pivot slightly around the limitations of not having stores, but let's be agile. So we had those. We had a few companies that said, we got to stop this, or we've got other priorities. But then generally, so what has happened is we've had an overwhelming call for help. Largely, lots of companies that we've spoken to in the last 4 years have come back to us and said, now's the time. And for them, what it is what maybe 3-4 years ago when people started using the word omnichannel was a sort of, this is a nice to have, a sort of a bonus. Now it's very much a necessity. And it's these people in these companies are saying, right, this is just the perfect moment for me to be able to convince others in my business that we must do this. So we saw a very, very quick attitude change in a lot of
Yeah, and then how about the usage of it with the existing brands that you already work with? Have you seen an increase in the usage on the platform?
Yeah, so just to kind of pull both of those questions into one stat as a company, across March, we saw an increase in the volume of calls. So that's the end users of about 1,000% from the beginning of March to the end of March. Now,
wow,
that is a combination of some great new clients going live, but as well as that, there's a huge surge on many of the companies we work with. And we work with great brands who are in consumer electronics, they're in jewelry, they're in cycles, and actually a lot of those product sets have actually done quite well. Certainly, one of our partners, Signet in jewelry, they've got this slogan at the moment, which is "Love can't wait." Right, so people still want to be buying engagement rings and jewelry. So it's been really, really important. So yes, we have seen a real surge in consumers using it, and paired with that, we've got some amazing brands that have gone live in the time. So yeah, and just generally what we're seeing is, I think many retailers will have noticed that their web traffic's gone up. I think at one point I was reading 28% of online traffic is people that would otherwise be visiting stores. Now, these people are not necessarily used to making those purchases online. So with, and this is not true for all product sets, but what we were hearing is then that this sort of universal conversion rate across a website maybe dropped a bit. So we're all forced to go online, but I don't have that piece. What we've seen is increased engagement with our service, so a rate of engagement, and we've also seen increased conversion rates following the use of our service for almost all our clients.
Okay, that makes sense. So which categories of retail, Jeremy, does this work the best? Because in some categories, for example, beauty or furniture, I don't know where, or even like fashion, the reason customers go into stores is because sometimes like you want to try the product, you want to touch it, you want to smell it, and texture. So which categories of retail this works the best, which ones that it doesn't, and how do you tackle when there's like sensory experiences required?
Yeah, so I'm going to start by saying, I can't commit to haptics being launched in our feature set just yet. But one of the main things, so we have this amazing partnership with a group called A.S. Watson. You'll see, world's biggest beauty retailer. You'll see partners like the Perfume Shop in the UK, and we work with a number of other European arms as well. So, they sell perfume. Arguably, one of the key things to buying perfume is the smell. But largely what it is, and this rings true also when you see what Currys have been doing with their staff based at home. There's thousands of products I wish I could show you, but I'm based at home and I don't have them. Now, why does this create a valuable customer experience? Well, kinetic language. So you can use a lot of kinetic language which will help a consumer. So the sort of textures of a sofa, if we're talking a sort of velvet sofa, we're talking the expert advice in consulting you on a perfume. And I think what really shines when if you're a consumer with Currys and you see our service dubbed Shop Live there, you'll see that even though they don't have the products there, so you're doubly not getting the look and feel thing, you are speaking with a real expert who has the experience of being in the store for years and years. And some of these teams have been working there for years, and they are real ambassadors and technology fanatics. And that experience alone, even without the capability to show, brought to life so vividly through video, is really seeing results, both sales and customer satisfaction.
Yeah, and also I think sometimes, I'm a big shopper myself as well. I love shopping, especially when it comes to beauty and fashion. Sometimes you just make a decision, you do your research. I don't know, you might have heard about the product before, but you still need that validation. And it's not just trying the product, but you need that store advisors, experts, validation that yes, this is the right product for you. Yes, that is what it does. And yes, maybe how about considering this as well? So I think that's a very relevant point about having that touch with the store advisors.
Yeah. And I think that touch point, and what we see is that touch point needn't even take very long. If I am a consumer like you, and I know lots about the product, I have absolute trust in the brand, but I need a human being, someone with real experience, to kind of just push me over the line and give me that sort of. Now, we see an average call time, so these video calls that are happening with the stores, around 5 minutes. Okay, so just using 5 minutes on average of somebody's time in the store. It's a very rich experience, as Elon Musk put it. Video is the highest bandwidth communication tool we have available to us. You can experience a huge amount and gain a lot of knowledge in a very short period of time when you compare it to something like a sort of chat-based experience, where you might go back to the timestamps and see that you've been waiting for, or even they've been waiting for you as a consumer to respond. And actually, after 15 minutes on a chat-based service, you see you've just understood 5 new things. But within 5 minutes of a live video, you can really, even if you're talking like a £5,000 purchase online, those short experiences can push you over and feel confident.
Yeah. So, so far we've discussed how it improves the customer experience and benefits to the consumer. How about the store advisors, the employees? What's their reaction to it? Do they like it? Do they like using it? So tell me about your experiences on that front.
Yeah, and this goes back actually to your original question about Zoom and WhatsApp and FaceTime and the like. Now we are all very, very used to using video platforms. So in terms of the ease of use, this is really, really easy to use. part of our technology is also kind of linking these online sales to these individuals in store. So there's a huge empowerment piece here. So, previously, maybe I help customers in store and they go and purchase online. Most retailers don't have really good ways to track that. If you go and visit a retailer in their headquarters, these are reflected internally. There's sort of these traditional silos where your e-com and your retail both have very different KPIs and they can't be linked. What we're doing is kind of closing that loop in a way. I'm based in store, I'm helping customers in store, but I'm also helping online customers and I'm being recognized for it. So whether we need to recognize them down to the dollar or the pound of the sale and the action we can do, or whether this is simply a way to bring it into the sort of store managers' KPIs for those individuals. So I think the main point here is that we have empowerment of the individuals in store. And we're going to come on to our concept of a dark store. These employees working from home at the moment. These are two environments where this is their full-time job. So there's been a huge shift. And I think one of our sort of proudest things is that many of the people, the end users from the retailer side that use our app, display that on their LinkedIn. They proudly say that this is part of their job, and they are qualified to do this, and they have experience doing this. And we obviously believe this is part of the future of retail. It's the new channel. So these are very early adopters that one day, will be the norm.
I think it's a bit like, within my experience, I've always seen a little like silent not fight, but maybe friction between retail staff and digital channels. So maybe this is just an opportunity to break those silos and just to come to the mindset of there is actually just one channel, not multiple channels when it comes to business. So what is a dark store?
What is a dark store? Okay, so when we launched this service a few years ago, we saw, the hypothesis was redundant capacity in retail. I've said, any successful retail director would say that doesn't exist. There's no redundant capacity. What we saw is that staff in stores, when they use the technology, it was incredibly successful. The customer satisfaction is very high. At the moment, we're on 94%, which is how customers rate the service. The conversion rate, the average order value were also really high. So at the moment, we see that customers convert 15 to 30% of the time following these experiences. So you create an experience that makes you incredibly likely to make a sale. So the sort of business case there was, we've got this amazing performing service, but we're only seeing it online and available at relatively few hours during the day. So what can we do? The first step was increasing staffing for many of our customers. So we can justify increasing the staff. And some of the steps we've taken is, and we've got some really cool brands doing this now, is create a retail space. So this is the dark store, right? Create a retail space, something that is merchandised and designed to your brand, like a real retail environment. But could be anywhere in the world. So it could be in an office on the outskirts of London. It could be in your headquarters. Many brands and retailers have mock shops anyway. They have existing resources. Staff it with people that are experienced salespeople, maybe some of your best, like your coaches or your just some of your people that have been in a retail environment before, and use the space to serve online customers purely. So you're running a really efficient model. You don't pay for retail rates. This can be anywhere. And for an international brand, this space can service customers from all over the world. We will, those people in the store can speak multiple languages. And of course, because we're routing intelligently and invisibly, these calls can come from all over the world. You can take advantage of time zones from one sort of space, one increasingly large space, I suppose, as you increase the scope of that. What we're doing with also sort of direct to consumer brands, many of whom sell, you take somebody like a Dyson and HP. These are brands that sell both in their own direct to consumer channel, but they also sell via retailers for, major retailers like Currys and the like. So what if you take this sort of dark store concept and you can actually serve customers whatever channel they're shopping in? This is another silo. Many of those brands have their direct consumer, and they have their sort of retail or their channel experience.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about making sure that if I'm a customer shopping with a brand, whether or not I'm shopping through a retailer that represents that brand, or I'm shopping directly with that brand, I can still speak to somebody that represents that brand, can still have that experience, and that's an experience that's consistent, globally, regardless of the channel I'm shopping. So that's what we're doing.
Okay, so that's a dark store. Basically, it's a store that is not a store. It's like a TV studio, perhaps, if I may say, that is set up like a store, and then you have individuals, store advisors, who have the experience, the know-how, and they just serve the online customers, almost like mimicking the store experience. And coming to how you measure success, obviously, whether it's great for the customer experience, no doubt on that. Of course, the businesses probably watching this are curious about, okay, how does it improve my KPI? So how do you measure success? I know you mentioned conversion rate. That's probably the no-brainer one. Are there any other KPIs that retailers are using to measure the success of this?
Yeah, so there's obviously two sides of this. It's a ROI, return on investment, but also people are increasingly using ROF, return on experience. So I was reading a report the other day that said that in a recession, and this is something that we must be ready for, obviously, in the current crisis, in a recession, brands that are customer experience leaders will be 3 times more resilient in terms of share price to recessions. So if a retailer is not compelling me on the experience, I'm just going to shop on value and price. So a big part of this is customer experience. Like I said, 94%. We prompt, kind of like Uber. After every call, we prompt for that. So that's an average as a business for us is 94%. Other KPIs, obviously the sales stuff. That's really important too. We're not just doing this for fun. So we're looking at conversion rate. We'd like to see that most brands can launch and have a conversion rate between 15 and 30%, sometimes higher, certainly during peak. But generally what that means is a conversion rate that's around 8 times, 9 times, 10 times, 11 times greater than their average for their website when a consumer uses the technology. And then there's average order value. So basket size is really important.
I think one of the really fascinating things as an opportunity here is that to use that data. I mean, you probably have an enormous data coming out of these calls. It's like you said, like which products are maybe, are being asked first, or I don't know, it might even give the retailers the opportunities to find out whether, your product feature page isn't good enough, or where customers need the help most. And I guess that was just first thing that came to my mind. But the data that will be available after is a massive opportunity for retailers to use it to improve the experience online. So just curious, have you been deploying this just in the UK or globally in other countries as well?
So yeah, obviously lots going on in the UK, lots going on in Europe, Germany, France, Italy, virtually all around Europe, as far as Japan and Australia and the US. So right now, very, very, very international, South Africa as well, and some other Asian deployments coming up as well. So,
and for those who might be watching this and who might be interested in deploying a solution like this, can you give them an estimate, like understanding of how long does it take for this to get up and running, if they want to do something like this in the coming times?
Absolutely. So our current sort of lead time on this, based on a number of things, about 2 weeks. So, traditionally what we saw is that, the bigger the brand, the longer this experience, might take, to get from sign off to launching and having a third channel, as we put it. We are now launching with some of the world's largest brands within 2 weeks. So these brands that, have to run by, international protocols of deploying on their website. It's a JavaScript deployment. It can be done through a system. We handle the heavy lifting, so it's going to be a lot easier than you think it is. So 2 weeks, yeah, subject to everything else that's going on in our business.
Wow, that's impressive. That means that you can actually start in two weeks, and you don't have to maybe make it perfect and start from, on maybe certain pages, and then you can evolve it into other product categories, etc. I guess.
And we're seeing even massive brands with huge brand identity, sort of somewhat throwing that out and saying, look, we've just got to go live, even if we're from, even we're doing this from home, let's get this live and let's generate data, success, and then we can make it perfect.
So then one final question is, when the pandemic is over, how do you see the customer experience evolving after this experience, and how do you see your product will play a role in it very quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we all having to consider that this behavior is going to be sticky, which is obviously a challenging thing for retailers, but it's an exciting thing for retailers that have been pushing for this sort of innovation and e-commerce. We've seen a load of luxury brands suddenly turn transactional in the last month or two and accelerate those. So we know that this stuff is going to be sticky, right? Customers are not just going to go straight back out to shops at the end of the year. So increasingly important, whether you're buying a laptop or now like $100,000 engagement ring, that you can have this experience online. So we are being hailed as incredibly important, and I suppose the third channel for retailers. So we've got online, we've got in-store, and then we've got Go Instore, which this is a new channel, and it's a channel that customers are going to grow to expect.
Great. Jeremy, thank you so much. It was great chatting with you, and wishing you all the best. And let's hope that there's going to be an exciting future for retail moving onwards. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sezin. Speak soon. Bye-bye.
Speak soon. Bye-bye.